कैसे हो दोस्तों आप लोग? होप आप सब बहुत अच्छे हो। तो दोस्तों हम अपनी लिटरेचर की सीरीज को कंटिन्यू कर रहे हैं और इस लिटरेचर की सीरीज में आज हम एक ऐसी कहानी को लेके आए हैं जो कि बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है। इस स्टोरी का नाम है द रैट ट्रैप। दोस्तों ये एक ऐसी कहानी है और एक ऐसे शख्स की कहानी है जो कि एक वॉन्डरर था, जो इस दुनिया में और इस ज़्यादा स्वीडन की ये कहानी है जहाँ पे स्वीडिश के बैकलैंड्स में वो ट्रैवल करता था। आप उसको एक बेगर तो नहीं कह सकते बिकॉज़ वो एक रैट ट्रैप्स जिसे चूहा पकड़ने की चूहे के पिंजरे कहते हैं, उनको बेचता था। ही वाज़ नॉट अ बेगर एग्ज़ैक्टली बट वो रोम आउट करते रहता था। उसके पास कोई अपनी रहने के लिए जगह नहीं थी। उसके पास कोई अपना ठिकाना नहीं था और वो कंट्री साइड पे बस घूमते रहता था। थोड़ा बहुत बेग करता था, थोड़ा बहुत चोरी करता था, ये सारी चीज़ें करके अपना गुज़ारा वो करता था। तो बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग कहानी है और कैसे उसने अपने एक्सपीरियंस को एक लर्निंग में इवॉल्व किया, कैसे उसने ये समझाने की कोशिश करी कि जो भी हमको इस दुनिया में मिल रहा है, जो भी all the riches, all the glamour, everything that we are getting in the world is just a rat trap. वो एक ट्रैप की भांति है जो हमको उस चीज में फंसाने का काम करती है। सो बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी है दोस्तों एंड बहुत ही एक अच्छी लर्निंग इस स्टोरी के एंड में आती है। उसको हम जरूर देखेंगे और उसको हम जरूर समझने की कोशिश करेंगे। ओके, सो द राइटर ऑफ द स्टोरी इज सेल्मा लैंगरलॉफ, जो कि एक स्वीडिश राइटर है। थोड़ा सा पहले उनके बारे में, देन वी वुड मूव ऑन टू द फुल स्टोरी। So, she is a Swedish author and teacher, born on 20th November 1858 in Sweden, and she died on 16 March 1940. So, typically, uh, यूरोप के यूरोप की एक टिपिकल यूरोपियन स्टोरी है जो उन्होंने लिखी है। Published her first novel, Gosta Berling Saga, at the age of 33. So she was a very famous writer of Sweden and she's published a lot of novels. So that's a background of the writer. Okay. A little bit of theme of the story. The story upholds the belief that the essential goodness of human being can be awakened through love and understanding. It brings into focus the idea that the world is a rat trap, riches, joy, shelter and food are all lucrative ways to trap mankind. इसमें एक ये भी चीज बताने की कोशिश की है कि इवन दो इफ अ पर्सन इज अ थीफ और अ बेगर और अ पर्सन हु इज नॉट रिकॉग्नाइज्ड इन द वर्ल्ड, even those people can be moved or they can kind of leave their badness through a lot of if some humanness is given to them in any shape or form. ये भी चीज हम देखने की कोशिश करेंगे कि कैसे उस जो मेन कैरेक्टर है, कैसे वो अपनी अपनी जो बैड हैबिट्स हैं उनको छोड़ के एक अच्छा इंसान बनने की कोशिश करता है बिकॉज शी रिसीव्ड सम काइंडनेस फ्रॉम अ लेडी इन द स्टोरी। वी विल सी दैट। नाउ अगेन, जैसे कि हम लोग करते हैं, हमने इस स्टोरी को भी सीन वाइज एक्सप्लेनेशंस में बांटा है। तो देयर आर अराउंड 7 सीन्स जिसमें हमने इस स्टोरी को डिवाइड किया है और इन 7 सीन्स के बेसिस पे हम इस स्टोरी को एक्सप्लेन करने की कोशिश करेंगे। तो द फर्स्ट सीन, द पेडलर एंड हिज फिलॉसफी। तो ये जो सीन है दोस्तों, दिस काइंड ऑफ इंट्रोड्यूसेस द प्रोटैगनिस्ट और द मेन कैरेक्टर कि एसेंशियली वो क्या करता था, कैसे रोम आउट करता था, क्या उसको मतलब क्या करना उसको पसंद होता था। ये सारी चीजें हमने इस सीन 1 में लिखने की कोशिश करी है और इसमें हम पहले से थोड़ा सा एक ब्रीफ बैकग्राउंड पढ़ेंगे जैसे हम पढ़ते आए हैं। ए बिग ब्रीफ बैकग्राउंड अराउंड द सीन एंड देन द टेक्स्ट ऑफ दैट सीन, यू वुड सी दैट। Okay. It starts with the protagonist. The story begins by introducing the peddler, a poor man who earns a meager living by selling small rat traps and resorting to petty theft and begging. The central metaphor, while thinking one day he develops the idea that the whole world is a giant rat trap. The joys, the riches, and the comforts offered by the world are merely a bait to lure people, and once they touch the bait, they are trapped forever. This cynical philosophy serves to justify his own life of loneliness and despair. तो दोस्तों ये बताने की कोशिश करी गई है इसमें कि कैसे इतनी भी बताने की कोशिश या स्ट्रेंजली जो वो पेडलर था, जो मेन प्रोटैगनिस्ट था, जो मेन कैरेक्टर है स्टोरी का, वो अपने एक्सपीरियंसेस से एक फिलॉसफी डेवलप कर लेता है कि जितनी भी चीजें यहाँ पे मिल रही हैं इस वर्ल्ड में, जॉयज, रिचनेस, एवरीथिंग, ये बस एक ट्रैप है। ये एक ट्रैप है जो हमको उस चीजों में जैसे कि हम चूहे को एक चीज बॉल डालते हैं ताकि वो ट्रैप में फंस जाए, उसी तरीके से हमको ये सारी चीजें दी जाती है ताकि हम उस ट्रैप में फंस जाएं। तो दिस इज ऑल जस्ट अ ट्रैप फॉर द रैट और फॉर द पीपल दैट आर willing to get all these things like the joy, the riches and everything, और कैसे ये ट्रैप उन लोगों को फंसा लेता है इस दुनिया में. That's the philosophy that he develops while wandering all along the countryside. Let's look at the text for this scene. Once upon a time, there was a man who went around selling small rat traps of wire. He made them himself at odd moments from the material he got by begging in the stores of the big farms. But even so, the business was not specially profitable, so he had to resort to both begging and petty thievery to keep away body and soul together. Even so, his clothes were in rags, his cheeks were sunken, and hunger gleamed in his eyes. Gleamed मतलब चमकना, मतलब so it's kind of it. वो मतलब hunger was always, one can see hunger in his eyes because he was not very well to do. वो mainly begging से और थोड़ा बहुत चीजों को चुरा के अपना गुजारा करता था, and odd moments में अपने rat traps को वो बनाता था. No one can imagine how sad and monotonous life can appear to such a vagabond who plods along the road, left to his own meditation. So vagabond वगैरह vagabond मतलब a wanderer, right? So no one can imagine how sad and monotonous life can appear to such people who roam around the countryside. But one day this man had fallen into a line of thought which really seemed to him entertaining. He had naturally been thinking of his red traps, and suddenly he was struck by the idea that the whole world about him, the whole world with its land and seas, its cities and villages, was nothing but a big rat trap. He had never existed for any purpose than to set baits for people. So he begins by developing this ideology. That's the basic form of story, that the whole world is a big rat trap. जो भी चीजें इस दुनिया में हमको मिल रही हैं वो हम लोगों को एक तरीके से फंसाने के लिए मिल रही हैं, जो हमको इस दुनिया में फंसा लेती हैं. And he develops this ideology by seeing the rat traps that he was making by himself. It offered riches and joys, shelter and food, heat and clothing, exactly as the rat trap offered cheese and pork. And as soon as anyone let himself be tempted to touch the bait, it closed on him. And then everything came to an end. Right? So he develops this ideology. Now let's move to the second scene. Second scene, it's about a crofter's cottage. Crofter लोग दोस्तों उनको कहते हैं जो कोई एक छोटी सी लैंड लेके उस पे फार्मिंग करते हैं. तो दैट वाज वहाँ पे उस समय यूरोप में, स्वीडन में, दिस वाज अ वेरी कॉमन कल्चर कि अ लॉट ऑफ स्मॉल फार्मर्स एग्जिस्ट जो लैंड्स को रेंट पे लेके उसको कल्टिवेट करते थे. तो ऐसे ही एक क्रॉफ्टर के घर में वो शेल्टर लेता है एक रात को, हमारा जो मेन पेडलर था. And how he was amazed by the reception that was given to him by the crofter, and what he does after that is a very interesting thing. So let's look at it. First, an explanation of the scene. क्या ये scene कह रहा है? The meeting one day evening, the peddler seeks shelter at a small isolated crofter's cottage. To his surprise, the old crofter, lonely and without family, welcomes him warmly. The crofter, proud of his success, tells the peddler that he had made 30 kroner last month by supplying milk to the creamery. He displays the 3 10 kroner bills in a leather pouch hanging near the window. The next morning, the peddler leaves but soon returns. He breaks the window pane, steals the 30 kroner and hides it in his pocket. He has now literally taken the bait to the world. So essentially 3 parts to the scene. पहला scene उनकी मीटिंग के बारे में बात करता है कि कैसे क्रॉफ्टर और पेडलर मिलते हैं. And then how the crofter tells him that he has made 30 rupees, कह लो आप स्वीडिश करेंसी में, 30 kroners, जो कि उसने उसको दिखाया कि मैंने यहाँ पे रखे हुए हैं. And Once the peddler leaves, he returns back after half an hour, breaks the window, and took that money from the pocket or from the leather pocket that was kept at the window, near the window. And essentially, he kind of takes that bait. इस तरीके की वो बात करता है कि जैसे कि the whole world is a rat trap, उसी तरीके से he himself falls to that trap that was given to him by God. So let's see the text of this scene. One dark evening, as he was cruising along the road, he caught sight of the little grey cottage by the roadside, and he knocked on the door to ask shelter for the night. Now, nor was he refused. Instead of the sour faces which ordinarily met him, the owner, who was an old man without wife or child, was happy to get someone to talk to his loneliness. Immediately, he puts the porridge pot on the fire and gave him supper. Then he carved off such a big slice from his tobacco roll that it was enough for both of the stranger's pipe and his own. Finally, he got out of the old pack of cards and played Jollis with his guest until bedtime. So essentially, this text talks about how welcoming the crofter was to the peddler. He gives him उनको उसको खाना भी देता है और कैसे वो दोनों पाइप भरते हैं and then they kind of smoke that out. Or then also how they play a game in cards. So it was all the uh, goodness of the crofter that he was kind of enjoying time with a person whom he didn't know, but he was very friendly with that person. So it actually talks about that. The old man was just as generous with his confidence as with his porridge and tobacco. Uh, the guest was immediately informed at once that in his days of prosperity, his host had been a crofter at Ramjo Iron Works and had worked on the land. Now that he was no longer able to do labor, it was his cow which supported him. So the stranger must have seemed incredulous. For the old man got up and went to the window, took down a leather pouch which hung on the nail in the very window frame, and picked out the three kroner bills. These he held up before his eyes of the guest, nodding knowingly that, and then stuffed them back into the pouch. The crofter locked the door and put the keys in his pocket. The man with the rat trap said goodbye and thank you, and thereupon each went in his own way. So essentially, this talks around कि कैसे old man the crofter introduced himself to the peddler, and then he clearly stated that he worked at this ironworks, Ramsjo Ironworks. He was a crofter near Ramsjo Ironworks, but he soon left it, and now since he's an old man, he doesn't work there. He has his cow who supports him. So to make the peddler believe that he earns his living by the cow, he shows him that three notes that was hung near the window, and then he clearly states that this is what he does. This is what he do now. So after listening everything, the peddler actually goes off and un- understands what the crofter does, and then he takes a buy from him. But half an hour later, the rat trap peddler stood again before the door. He did not try to get in, however. He only went up the window, smashed the pane, stuck in his hand, got hold of the pouch with the 30 noddle. He took the money and thrust it into his pocket. Then he hung the leather pouch very carefully back in the place and went up. तो धीरे से उसके बाद वो जैसे भी ये कहते हैं कि थोड़ी देर आफ्टर हाफ एन आवर वो फिर से आता है द पेडलर, वो विंडो को तोड़ता है, वो 3 नोट निकालता है एंड देन ही क्विकली गोज़ अवे. ओके. Fear and retreat. So this is the scene 3. उसके बाद the peddler actually walks and starts walking a little farther down that road, and let's see what happens to him after that. To avoid the highway, the peddler turns into the dense forest, intending to walk unnoticed. He soon realizes that the forest is confusing and endless. He wanders for hours and finally feels a great dread. The forest has become a terrifying, inescapable prison, his own red trap. Exhausted and facing that, he remembers his own philosophy. The 13 kroner was the bait that had trapped him. He sinks to the ground, believing his end is near. So essentially, after this, uh, in order to escape the whole, in order to escape anyone whom he meets after that, he goes to the forest एंड फॉरेस्ट की साइड वो जाता है और वहां चलते जाता है चलते जाता है चलते जाता है एंड सून ही रियलाइजेस दैट दिस इज अ वेरी कंफ्यूजिंग सॉर्ट ऑफ फॉरेस्ट, जहाँ पे उसको पता ही नहीं है कि उसको वहां से बाहर कैसे निकलना है. एंड देन दैट आइडिया स्टक्स हिम अगेन कि यार दिस इज अगेन अ रेड ट्रैप फॉर हिम, कि कैसे वो उस 3 नोट की वजह से, सब लोगों से बचने की वजह से फॉरेस्ट की तरफ गया और फॉरेस्ट में ही फंस गया. वो चलते जाता है एंड देन सून, while he walks, he clearly sees no way out and he thinks that he would live no more. So this is the realization. Let's look at the text. As he walked along with the money in his pocket, he felt quite pleased with his smartness. He realized, of course, that at first he dared not continue on the public highway, but must turn off the road into the woods. During the first hours, this caused him no difficulty. Later in the day, he became worse. It was a big and confusing forest which he had forgotten to. So again, the same thing. He वो forest में चले जाता है, forest में जाके he confuses himself and then he could not find the way out. It was late in December. Darkness has already descended over the forest. This increased the danger, increased also his gloom and despair. Finally, he saw no way out and he sank down on the ground, tired to death, thinking that this is his last moment has come. Okay. Now let's look at scene 4. तो सीन 4 में दोस्तों क्या होता है कि सीन 4 में जैसे ही वो उस फॉरेस्ट में खो रहा होता है, अभी ही हियर सम वॉइस. तो उसको हथौड़ों की और लोहे को पिघलाने की ये सारी आवाजें आती हैं. एंड देन ही सीज दिस आयरन आयरन वर्क्स, जिसे कहते हैं रामस्टो आयरन वर्क्स, जिसके बारे में क्रॉफ्टर ने बात करी थी, वही आयरन वर्क उसको वहां दिख जाती है. Just as he is about to give up, he hears a distant rhythmic thumping at the sound of the hammer strokes from the iron mill. He drags himself towards that sound. He finds shelter in the Ramjo Ironworks. The iron master who owns the mill walks in for an inspection. Mistaken identity. तो ये बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है दोस्तों कि जो पहले वो वहां जाता है और he kind of asks people that if he can pass the night there. बट जैसे ही वो कर रहा होता है तभी जो आयरन मास्टर है वो उसके पास आता है एंड द आयरन मास्टर आस्क्स हिम और मिस्टेक्स हिम विद अ कैप्टन दैट ही न्यू बिफोर. वो कहता है कि आप वही कैप्टन हो जो मेरे दोस्त थे whom I knew before, and then he asked him to spend a night with him on Christmas. Due to the grim dim light and the peddler's unkempt appearance, the iron master mistakes him for an old regimental comrade, Captain Nils Olof Wenster. He invites the peddler home for Christmas. The peddler, fearing the 30 Norrer whom would be discovered, politely refuses the invitation, which makes the ironmaster think his old man is embarrassed by his poverty. Now let's look at the text. But just as he laid his head on the ground, he heard a sound, a hard, regular thumping. There was no doubt as to what that was. He raised himself. Those are the hammer strokes from an iron mill, he thought. There must be people nearby. He summoned all his strength, got up and staggered in the direction of a sound. The Ramsjo Iron Works, which are now closed down, were not so long ago a large plant with smelter, rolling mill and a forge. In the summertime, long time of heavily loaded barges and scows slid down the canal, which led to the large inland lake, and in the winter time, the roads near the mill were black from all the coal dust, which stiffed down from the big charcoal plant. So, दोस्तों ये थोड़ा सा रामसो आयरन वर्क्स के बारे में बताया है कि कैसे रामसो आयरन वर्क वाज अ बिग मिल बिफोर with smelter. Smelter is again the place where metal is melted, rolling mill and the forge. And forge is the place where जहाँ पे आप लोहे को एक shape देते हैं. That place is called forge. In the summertime, long lines of heavily loaded barges, boats carrying heavy goods and scows, flat bottom boats. So कैसे वो iron works जो था वो एक boats बनाता था, कैसे उसमें boats बनती थी, slid down a canal which led to the large inland lake. And in the winter time, the roads near the mill were black from all the coal dust. कैसे वो एक big iron works था पहले, कैसे उसमें boats बनती थी और कैसे जो उसकी जैसे वो आयरन वर्क्स करते थे उसकी जो धूल होती थी वो उसकी विंडोज पर जम जाती थी. It talks about that. All the time there was many sounds to be heard. The big bellows groaned and the burning coal cracked. The fire boy shoveled charcoal into the maw of the furnace. Shoveled क्या होता है कि जो कि पिघले हुए लोहे को उठाने के लिए जो एक प्लैटर टाइप से होता है, उससे कैसे वो उठाते थे लोहे को, चारकोल को उठाते थे इनटू द मॉ ऑफ द फर्नेस, कैसे वो कोयला फर्नेस में डालते थे विद द शॉव्स with a great deal of clatter. Outside roared the water wall and a sharp north wind whipped the rain against the big tiled roof. This is again the whole description of the ironworks that he discovered. It was probably on account of all this noise that the blacksmith did not notice that the man had opened the gate and entered the forge until he stood close up to the furnace. Surely it was nothing unusual for poor vagabonds without any better shelter for the night to be attracted to the forge by the glow of light which escaped through the sooty plains and to come in the warm themselves in front of the fire. So दोस्तों ये कह रहा है कि कैसे जो पेडलर था वो उस आयरन वर्क्स उस फैक्ट्री में अंदर जाता है एंड जो वहाँ के लोग होते हैं वो सरप्राइज नहीं होते हैं क्योंकि ये बहुत कॉमन था कि ऐसे पेडलर्स घूमते घुमाते आयरन वर्क्स में आ जाते थे शेल्टर लेने के लिए, रात गुजारने के लिए. Or it was not a new thing for them to see this peddler coming into the factory. The blacksmith glanced only casually and indifferently at the intruder. He looked the way people of his type usually did, with a long beard, dirty, ragged, and with a bunch of red traps dangling on his chest. He asked permissions to stay, and the master blacksmith nodded a haughty consent without honoring him with a single word. So इट्स टिपिकली कि जैसे कि एक पेडलर, एक राह चलता आदमी वहां पे आ गया, द ब्लैकस्मिथ जो वहां का मालिक था वो अगेन बहुत ही कैजुअली उसको देखा. ब्लैकस्मिथ जो वहां पे काम करता था उसने बहुत कैजुअली उनको देखा क्योंकि उनके लिए बहुत कॉमन था ऐसे लोग आ जाना, बिकॉज वो उसकी आइडेंटिटी को समझ पा रहा था क्योंकि उसने अपनी चेस्ट पे रेड ट्रैप्स बांधे हुए थे. एक ही हैड अ वेरी शैबी सॉर्ट ऑफ अ लुक. तो उस लुक को देख के ही कैजुअली kind of looked at him and didn't say uttered a word. So it was very common for people like them to take shelter at the ironwork. Okay, so this is important. The iron master did not follow the example of the blacksmith who had already deigned to look at the stranger. He walked close to him, looked at him very carefully, and tore off his slouch hat to get a better view of his face. But of course, it is you, Olaf, he said. How do you look? So again, this is very important part of the story कि कैसे जो आयरन मास्टर था, कैसे जो वहां का मालिक जो था, वो उस पेडलर को उसकी आइडेंटिटी को मिस्टेकन करता है. ही मिस्टेक्स हिम टू बी द कैप्टन दैट ही नो एंड देन आस्क कि आप कैसे हो, हाउ डू यू लुक. Yes, God knows things had gone downhill with me, he said. You should not have resigned from the regiment, said the Iron Master. That was the mistake. If only I had still been in the service at that time, I never would have happened. Yes, of course, now you will come home with me. तो कैसे वो कहता है कि आपको रेजिमेंट से रिजाइन करना वाज अ मिस्टेक और आप आज मेरे घर आ रहे हो, और कैसे वो उसको क्रिसमस के लिए इनवाइट करता है. बट द पेडलर, जो कि उन 3 नोटों की वजह से अभी भी he was under an impression कि लोगों को पता ना लग जाए, he says that no, I cannot come to your house. I am not in a good shape and I cannot come to your house. That's what he says. The Iron Master assumes that he felt embarrassed because of the miserable clothing. Please don't think that I have such a fine home and you cannot show yourself here. He said, Elizabeth is dead. As you may already have heard, my boys are abroad and there is no one at home except my oldest daughter and myself. वो कहता है कि आपके लिए इट्स नॉट वेरी डिफिकल्ट, मतलब आप डोंट कम टू माई हाउस बिकॉज यू आर नॉट एट अ वेरी गुड शेप. मेरे घर में कोई नहीं है, मेरी वाइफ मर चुकी है, मेरे मेरे जो लड़के हैं वो दे आर नॉट एट होम, दे आर आउटसाइड एंड आई जस्ट लिव विद माई ओल्ड डॉटर, oldest daughter. So as he was saying that, he was saying that since it's Christmas, you should come home and help us to eat Christmas food, and it would be a very good thing अगर आप हमारे घर आते हैं. we enjoy Christmas together. But he didn't accept. It looks as though Captain won't tell, prefer to stay with you tonight. He said to the black master blacksmith. वो अपने जो employees थे blacksmith था उससे कहता है कि शायद कैप्टन तुम्हारे साथ रहना चाहते हैं, वो हमारे साथ हमारे घर नहीं जाना चाहते हैं. So that's what he said. But again when he asked again to the peddler refused कि मैं आपके घर नहीं आ. Okay. Then the hope you can understand it till now. तो अभी तक हमने 4 सीन्स करे हैं. 4 सीन्स में पहले पेडलर के बारे में सीन 1 में उन्होंने बताया कि हु इज दिस पेडलर है, उसकी क्या फिलॉसफी है. नेक्स्ट सीन कैसे वो क्रॉफ्टर से मिलता है और वहां से ही काइंड ऑफ स्टील्स द मनी फ्रॉम देयर. थर्ड इज कैसे वो फॉरेस्ट में खो जाता है. फॉरेस्ट में खोने के बाद कैसे वो एक ही थिंक्स दैट ही इज लॉस्ट एंड ही इज लॉस्ट इन दिस वर्ल्ड. चौथे सीन में उसको जैसे ही वो फॉरेस्ट में खो जाता है, जैसे ही वाज वेरी टायर्ड एंड ही थिंक्स दैट ही इज गॉन, ही सीज दिस आयरन वर्क्स, रामजोस आयरन वर्क्स, जहाँ पे वो अपनी नाइट गुजारने के लिए जाता है. और जैसे ही वो वहाँ नाइट गुजारने के लिए जाता है, वहाँ के जो मालिक होता है, ही मिस्टेक्स हिम लाइक विद द कैप्टन एंड आस्क हिम टू कम होम फॉर द क्रिसमस, बट द पेडलर रिफ्यूजेस दैट ही कैन नॉट कम. लेट्स सी व्हाट हैपेंस आफ्टर दैट. The Iron Master sends his kind and persuasive daughter, Edla Williamson, to convince the peddler to come home. Edla sees instantly that the peddler is not captain, but a scared, homeless tramp. However, instead of exposing him, treats him with sincere kindness and assurance. The peddler, touched by her gentle manner, feels he has no choice but to follow her, accepting the comfortable and kind treatment offered by her family. तो एडला की बात वो मान जाता है. ही एक्सेप्ट्स हर इनविटेशन और ही सेज दैट ओके, सिंस यू आर सो काइंडली आस्किंग मी टू कम टू योर हाउस, आई विल कम टू योर. लेट्स लुक एट द टेक्स्ट ऑफ दिस सीन. It was not more than half an hour before they heard the sound of carriage wheels outside the forge and the new guest came in. But this time it was not the Iron Master. He sent his daughter, apparently hoping that she would have better powers of persuasion than he himself. So इस समय Iron Master नहीं आता है. He sends his daughter to persuade peddler to come to his house. As soon as the young girl caught sight of him, she went up and lifted his hat. The man was evidently used to sleeping with one eye open. He jumped up abruptly and seemed to be quite frightened. My name is Edla Williamson. My father came home and said that you wanted to sleep here in the forge, and then I asked permission to come and bring you home. I'm so sorry, Captain, that you are having such a torrid time, such a hard time. So essentially, जो उसकी डॉटर थी वो, इवन दो शी रिकॉग्नाइजेस कि वो कौन है, वो बहुत ही पोलाइटली उससे बोलती है एंड मेक्स हिम रियलाइज दैट शी ऑल्सो थिंक्स दैट शी इज द कैप्टन, और शी आस्क्स हिम अगेन टू कम होम. I would never have, it would have never occurred to me that you would bother with me yourself, miss. I will come home at once. He accepts the fur coat which the valet handed him with a deep bow, threw it over his rags, and followed the young lady to the carriage without granting the astonished blacksmith so much as a glance. तो essentially वो accept कर लेता है कि मैं आपके घर चल रहा हूँ. वो वैलेट जो जो उनका कार पार्क करता था, that guy gives him that coat and he accepts that coat and comes with the lady. Sorry. So let's look at scene 6. So scene 6 में the first part is the transformation. कैसे जो आयरन मास्टर होता है कैसे उसका ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन करता है, हेयर कट दे के, शेविंग करवा के, एंड ऑल, गिव हिम ऑल द न्यू क्लोथ्स. कैसे उसका ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन होता है पेडलर का. The threat but after some times the Iron Master realizes that he is not the captain, and he kind of says that the sheriff or the policeman or the person who holds the law will kind of treat him well if he does not go from here. But then the lady or his daughter, he says that since he's not the captain we know now, and since he roams around the whole world, the whole year, and we have promised him to come to our house in Christmas, let's treat him well and let's ask him to celebrate Christmas with us. So that's what happens in this scene. So let's look at the text of this. You must have patience, my little girl, said the father. As soon as he gets clean and dressed up, you will see something different. Last night he was naturally embarrassed. The tramp manners will fall away from him and the tramp clothes. Just as he said that this, the door opened and a stranger enters. Yes, now he was truly clean and well dressed. The valet had bathed him, cut his hair, and shaved him. Moreover, he was dressed in a good looking suit of clothes which belonged to the iron master. He wore a white shirt and a starched collar and the whole shoe. तो कैसे उसका ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन होता है, कैसे वो लोग एक ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन दे पाते हैं उसको, कैसे उसके क्लोथ्स बदलते हैं. ही वाज वेयरिंग अ न्यू कोट, न्यू शर्ट एंड अ न्यू पेयर ऑफ शूज. So, and how he looks like a different person after that. What does this mean? He thundered. The stranger made no attempt to dissimulate. He saw at once that the splendor had come to an end. It is not my fault, sir, he said. I never pretended to be anything but a poor trader, and I pleaded and begged to be allowed to stay in the forge. But no harm has been done. At worst, I can put off my rags again and go away. Well, said the ironmaster, hesitating a little, it was not quite honest either. You must admit that, and I should not be surprised if the sheriff would like to have something to say in this. तो कैसे उसकी आइडेंटिटी निकल आती है. एंड ही क्लियरली सेज कि सर मेरी इसमें कोई गलती नहीं है, मैंने अपनी आइडेंटिटी छुपाने की बिल्कुल कोशिश नहीं करी. आई काइंड ऑफ आस्क्ड यू टू लेट मी स्टे एट द फॉर्ज. कैसे मेरे को वहाँ पे फैक्ट्री में आप रहने दीजिए. एंड एट एट बेस्ट ये हो जाएगा कि अब मैं अपने रैक्स को वापस पहन के वापस चले जाऊँ. तो द आयरन मास्टर रिप्लाई टू इट सेड कि यू मस्ट एडमिट कि इतने शरीफ भी तुम नहीं थे. You didn't admit very politely that you were not the captain. और शायद मुझे अब पुलिस वाले को बुलाना पड़ेगा. What he clear. The threat. Now I am going to tell you, Mr. Iron Master, how things are. This whole world is nothing but a big rat trap. All the good things that are offered to you are nothing but cheese rinds and bits of pork. They're out to drag a poor fellow into trouble. And if the sheriff comes now and locks me up for this, then you, Mr. Ironmaster, must remember that a day may come when you yourself may want to get a big piece of pork and you will get caught in this trap. The Ironmaster began to laugh. So then as the Ironmaster talks of the sheriff, जैसे वो पुलिस की बात करता है, वैसे ही जो हमारा पेडलर था वो क्लियरली gives his ideology to the Iron Master. वो बोलता है कि ये संसार, ये दुनिया एक रैट ट्रैप है, यहाँ पे आप लोगों को कुछ दिया जाता है ताकि आप फंस सको. और वो ये भी कहता है कि अगर आज तो मुझे पकड़ लेते हो तो then you yourself would get engaged in this big rat trap of the world. That's what he says. But just as the man was opening the door, the daughter said, I think he ought to stay with us today. I don't want him to go. And with that she went and closed the door. What in the world are you doing? Said the father. तो जैसे ये बात होती है, उसकी डॉटर कहती है कि I don't want him to go and I want him to stay with us in Christmas. और इसी बात को कह के वो डोर को बंद कर देती है. और इस पे उसके फादर को गुस्सा आता है, कहने के लिए तुम ये क्या कर रही हो. I'm thinking of the stranger here, said the young girl. He walks and walks the whole year long, and there's probably not a single place in the whole country where he's welcome and can feel at home. Wherever he turns, he's chased away. Always he's afraid of being arrested and cross-examined. I should like to have him enjoy a day of peace with us here, sir. Just one in the whole year. तो मैं बस वो ये कहती है कि मैं बस since he roams around the whole year, मैं बस उसको एक दिन शांति का देना चाहती हूँ, and that's what all I want. The Iron Master mumbled something in his beard. He could not bring himself to oppose her. It was all a mistake, of course. But anyways, I don't think we ought to chase away a human being whom we have asked to come here and to whom we have promised Christmas cheer. You do preach worse than a parson, said the Iron Master. I only hope you won't have to regret this. वो ये कहता है कि I just hope कि तुम्हें इस बात पे पछतावा ना हो कि तुम इसे यहाँ रुकने के लिए कह रही हो. And the final act. He finally ऐसे पेडलर का हार्ट बदलता है. The change of heart. Edla's unconditional kindness finally penetrates the peddler's cynical shell. He sleeps soundly all day, safe and secure for the first time. On Christmas morning, the Iron Master and Edla hear news that a rat trap seller robbed the old crofter. The Iron Master gloats, preparing to scold the peddler. तो जैसे ही वो नेक्स्ट मॉर्निंग, क्रिसमस मॉर्निंग में वो आयरन मास्टर डिस्कवर्स कि उस द पेडलर हैज रॉब्ड द क्रॉफ्टर, मतलब जो पेडलर था जिसकी हम बात, सॉरी, द पेडलर हैज रॉब्ड द क्रॉफ्टर, मतलब जो पेडलर था, जो मेन प्रोटैगनिस्ट है, उसने क्रॉफ्टर से पैसे चुराए हैं. ही डिस्कवर्स दैट एंड ही प्रिपेयर्स कि ही वुड स्कोल्ड दैट पर्सन. But when they return, they find a peddler has left. In this place is a small package for Edla, a tiny red trap, the 3 crumbled 10 kroner bills, a letter signed as Captain Monstahel. तो बट टू देयर सरप्राइज, जब लोग वो घर आते हैं, दे डिस्कवर कि पेडलर जो एक दिन तक आराम किया वो चला गया था, और जाने के समय वो एडला, जो कि उनकी डॉटर थी, उसके लिए 3 चीजें छोड़ गया था. एक द रेड ट्रैप, दूसरा वो 3 नोट, और तीसरा एक लेटर जिसमें वो कैप्टन नीचे कैप्टन के साइन उसने करे हुए थे. ओके, लेट्स लुक एट द टेक्स्ट ऑफ दिस सीन. The man with the red traps did not answer anything to this. He only stared at the young girl in boundless amazement. The next morning, the Iron Master and his daughter got up in good season to go to the early Christmas service. The guest was still asleep and did not disturb. So वो लोग, तो जो आयरन मास्टर था और उसकी डॉटर था, दे वर गोइंग टू द क्रिसमस मॉर्निंग प्रेयर्स, और वो जो पेडलर था उसको वहीं पे छोड़ के, सोता हुआ छोड़ के, दे वेंट देयर. The wagon and Hardy stopped at the front steps when the Iron Master asked the valet whether the stranger was still there. He added that he had heard at church that the man was a thief. The valet answered that the fellow had gone and that he had not taken anything with him at all. On the contrary, he had left behind a little package which Miss Williamson was to be kind enough to accept that as a Christmas. तो जैसे ही वो लोग वहां से वापस आते हैं, आयरन मास्टर बाहर जो उनकी कार पार्क करता है, उसी से ही पूछते हैं कि क्या जो हमारा गेस्ट था, इज ही स्टिल देयर, इज ही स्टिल स्लीपिंग. ऑन द कॉन्ट्रेरी, वैलिड कहता है कि वो तो चला गया है, और बल्कि कुछ ले जाने की बजाय वो मिस विलियमसन के लिए गिफ्ट भी छोड़ के गया है. The young girl opened the package, which was so badly done up that the contents came into view at once. She gave a little cry of joy. She found a small rat trap, and in this lay 3 wrinkled 10 Norrer notes. But that was not all. In the rat trap lay also a letter written in large jagged characters. क्या लिखा होता है उस लेटर में, ये देखते हैं. Honored and noble miss, since you have been so nice to me all day long as if I was a captain, and I want to be nice to you in return as if I was a real captain. But I do not want you to be embarrassed at this Christmas season by a thief. But you can give back the money to the old man on the roadside who has the money pouch hanging on the window frame as a bait for poor wanderers. The rat trap is a Christmas present from a rat who would have been caught in this world's rat trap if he had not been raised to captain, because in that way he got power to clear himself. Written with friendship and with high regard, Captain Munstahel. तो दोस्तों, as it's written, वो उस लेटर में लिख के जाता है कि he was honored by the treatment that he was given by the young lady, and he, along with this letter, he also, वो 3 नोट जो उसने वहां से चुराए थे वो भी वहां रख देता है, और आस्क हर टू गिव इट टू दैट ओल्ड क्रॉफ्टर, जिसकी विंडो पे वो पाउच लटका हुआ है, जो कि एक बिग रैट ट्रैप है फॉर द एंटायर वर्ल्ड और फॉर द पीपल हु रोम अराउंड. तो उसको वो 3 नोट वापस देने को कहता है, और उसको थैंक करता है कि आपकी काइंडनेस की वजह से मैं इस रेड ट्रैप से बाहर आ पाया, वरना मैं इस ट्रैप में फंस जाता, क्योंकि वो 3 नोट मुझे फंसा रहे थे. तो थैंक्स for all the treatment that you have given, and thanks because it helped him to come out as a captain. So that's what he says. तो wonderful story दोस्तों. जैसे कि आप देखते हो कि कैसे the philosophy that he has developed over a period of time, वो खुद उस philosophy में पहले फंसता है, और कैसे कि एक kindness से और humanness से जो वो lady उसको देती है, even though knowing that he was a thief, makes him get out of that trap again. And he again goes into that world wandering with the philosophy that he had developed. तो दोस्तों, थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग द स्टोरी. अब हम कुछ क्वेश्चन आंसर्स देख लेते हैं. तो 2 लॉन्ग आंसर टाइप क्वेश्चंस मैं आज डिस्कस करूंगा फॉर दिस स्टोरी रेड ट्रैप. ओके, फर्स्ट लुक एट द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन. द एसेंशियल गुडनेस इन अ ह्यूमन बीइंग कैन बी अवेकन्ड थ्रू अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड लव. ट्रेस द ट्रूथ ऑफ द स्टेटमेंट विद रेफरेंस टू द स्टोरी द रेड ट्रैप. देखो, जैसे मैंने आपको लास्ट क्लास में भी बताया था, हम असेंशली कोई भी लॉन्ग आंसर टाइप क्वेश्चन कर रहे हैं तो 150 वर्ड्स को हम 4 पार्ट्स में डिवाइड करते हैं. 2 मेन पार्ट्स वुड कंसिस्ट ऑफ 50-50 वर्ड्स और इंट्रोडक्शन कंक्लूजन वुड कॉन्स्टिट्यूट टुगेदर द 50 वर्ड्स. तो जैसे ये वाला क्वेश्चन कह रहा है, द एसेंशियल गुडनेस इन अ ह्यूमन बीइंग कैन बी अवेकन थ्रू अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड लव. इसको मैंने 4 पॉइंट्स पर डिवाइड करने की कोशिश करी है. द फर्स्ट पॉइंट जिसको जो हमको रिमेंबर करना पड़ेगा वो है पेडलर्स सिनिसिज्म. मतलब जो उसकी थ्योरी थी दैट ही व्यूज द वर्ल्ड एज अ जाइंट रेड ट्रैप, और कैसे लोग, उसका कहना था कि जैसे कि हम इस रेड ट्रैप में, इस वर्ल्ड में फंस जाते हैं, और ऑल जितनी भी ये चीज़ें हमको वर्ल्ड में मिल रही हैं, दीज एक्ट्स लाइक अ बेट. सो उसके बारे में 2-3 लाइन हमको इसमें डालनी पड़ेगी. ठीक है, अब हमको अगले जो 2 पॉइंट्स होंगे, जो मेन पॉइंट्स होंगे इस आंसर के, उसमें जो सिनिसिज्म उसने फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ में या फर्स्ट पॉइंट में दिया है हमने, उसको एक्सप्लेन करना है थ्रू एग्जाम्पल्स. ठीक है, जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल द आयरन मास्टर वर्सेज एडला. ठीक है, कॉन्ट्रास्ट द आयरन मास्टर जजमेंटल एटीट्यूड विद एडलास कंपैशन. ठीक है, एक हमको जैसे जो आयरन मास्टर था, जैसे ही कंप्लीटली चेंज हिज व्यू वंस ही डिस्कवर दैट the peddler was not the captain, right? So उसका व्यू पॉइंट बिल्कुल चेंज हो गया वर्सेस एडला, जिसने फिर भी कंपैशन दिखाया, एंड शी इंसिस्टेड दैट the peddler should come home and they should let them stay at home and enjoy Christmas. तो वो कंपैशन के बारे में हमको 3-4 लाइनें डालनी पड़ेगी, अराउंड 50 वर्ड्स इस चीज़ के बारे में डालनी पड़ेगी. देन एडलाज एल्ट्रुइज्म, मतलब एक तो हमने कॉन्ट्रास्टिंग व्यूज दिखाए उसके बारे में, और फिर एडला के बारे में बोला हमने कि शी ट्रीट्स हिम विद डिग्निटी, शी ट्रीट्स हिम विद रिस्पेक्ट, एंड यू नो हाउ she was very worried about him even after knowing that he was not someone that he knew, that they know, right? So ये सारी चीज़ हमको थर्ड पॉइंट में दिखानी पड़ेगी, और आखिर में कंक्लूडिंग स्टेटमेंट में ये भी दिखाना पड़ेगा कि कैसे एडलाज एल्ट्रुइज्म एक्चुअली लेड टू द ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन ऑफ द पेडलर. ठीक है, कि उसने आखिर में वो 30 रुपीज़ या 30 जो क्रॉनर्स थे वो वहाँ पे रख दिए थे, एंड he left by giving a message to Edla as well. So ये सारी चीज़ हमको दिखानी पड़ेगी. तो 4 मेन पॉइंट्स, पेडलर सिनिसिज्म, द आयरन मास्टर्स वर्सेस एडला, एडलाज एल्ट्रुइज्म एंड द ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन दैट हैपेंड. इस 4 पॉइंट्स में हम इस आंसर को डिवाइड कर सकते हैं. ओके, एक और क्वेश्चन देखते हैं. ये नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन देखते हैं. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन क्या था, हाउ डज द मेटाफोर ऑफ द रेड ट्रैप सर्व टू हाईलाइट द ह्यूमन प्रेडिक्टमेंट. सो जो ये मेटाफोर दिया हुआ है उन्होंने पूरे स्टोरी में कि द वर्ल्ड सर्व्स एज अ रेड ट्रैप, ये इसको ही हमको बेसिकली एक्सप्लेन करना है विद एग्जांपल्स. सो सबसे पहले हमने कोड फिलोसफी में वो फिलोसफी लिख दी जो रेड ट्रैप की मेंशन है कि ऑल द थिंग्स इन द वर्ल्ड एक्ट एज अ रेड ट्रैप. ये हम फर्स्ट, ये जो लाइन है, ये जो मेटाफोर उन्होंने दिया हुआ, ये कोड फिलोसफी में डाल देंगे. फिर देन द यूनिवर्सल एप्लीकेशन, मतलब जितने भी कैरेक्टर्स थे उन पे इस प्रोवर्ब का एप्लीकेशन दिखाना है. ठीक है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल द क्रॉफ्टर वॉज ट्रैप्ड बाय हिज नीड ऑफ कंपनी, मतलब he was trapped because he wanted company of people, right? That's why he invited the peddler and he invited he invited whosoever used to pass to his hut. So एक तो ये चीज़ लिख सकते हैं. Then we can write about the iron master, that iron master was क्या नाम है, trapped by his social status and his pride and everything, right? So ये सारी चीज़ हम पेडलर के बारे में, उसके आयरन मास्टर के बारे में लिख सकते हैं, राइट? सो ऐसे करके हम 2-3 एग्जाम्पल दे सकते हैं कि कैसे जो 2-3 मेन कैरेक्टर्स हैं वो इस मेटाफोर में engaged हैं, right? Then human weakness, that the moment someone touches the bait, the world closes onto them and everything ends, right? So इसमें हम पेडलर का एग्जाम्पल दे सकते हैं कि कैसे when the peddler actually got trapped by stealing that 30 kroners from the crofter, how he got trapped in the world wherein he was not going anywhere because he had the fear in his mind that someone would know that he had those 30 kroners, and so everything like that. So जो थर्ड पॉइंट है उसमें हम उसकी वीकनेस, ह्यूमन वीकनेस, कैसे हम लोग ट्रैप हो जाते हैं उस चीज़ के प्रति, राइट? ये इसमें डाल सकते हैं. कंक्लूडिंग में the metaphor highlights that the material world is predatory and only moral strength can help us escape the trap, right? So moral strength can escape us the trap. जैसे कि at the end of the story, the peddler actually had that strength in him to kind of he got changed by Edla's attitude, and he actually had the strength in him to give that 30 kroners or leave those 30 kroners, in their house, right? So, and we can generally give an example as well that to come out of this red trap we need to have inner strength, और inner strength के basis पे ही हम उस red trap से बाहर आ सकते हैं. So developing that inner strength is very important, and accordingly we should not engage or not trapped in the red traps of the world that's kind of given to us by the world. So इस तरीके से हम इस क्वेश्चन को इस 4 पार्ट में डिवाइड कर सकते हैं. So hope you've enjoyed the story. Do stay tuned with us for more stories. Thank you.